Early summer, 204 BC. Just south of the Yellow River, outside the towering walls of Xingyang, the encampments of the Chu army stretch as far as the eye can see. The war drums begin. A slow rhythm at first, tightening into a frenetic, heart-pounding beat. Then the gates of the central camp swing open. A general, built like an iron tower, rides out. He is mounted on a legendary steed, jet black, yet shimmering with a purple radiance under the sun. Surrounded by a phalanx of heavy cavalry in masked armor, he moves forward. He wears a white robe over silver armor. His face is young, yet it radiates an authority that demands absolute submission. He rides to a high platform, unsheathes the sword at his waist, points it directly at the besieged city of Xingyang, and roars a single command: attack! The entire Chu camp erupts in thunderous applause. Thousands of voices chant in unison, "Overlord! Overlord! Overlord!" Amidst this deafening roar, the horns blast. The final assault on Xingyang, a city besieged for 3 agonizing months, has begun. It was a battle with no suspense. Inside the city, only a handful of starving Han soldiers remained. Their leader, Liu Bang, the king of Han, had pulled off a masterclass in deception and escaped 2 months ago. Everyone left behind, from the kingdom's third-in-command, Grand Censor Zhou Ke, to the allied King Xin of Han, down to the soldiers too weak to stand, knew this day would come. The Chu catapults fired a few symbolic boulders. One smashed a corner of the already ruined watchtower, others flew over the yellow-brown rammed earth walls, aiming blindly at the soldiers huddled behind them. Then, screened by infantry wielding massive shields, the siege engines rolled forward. At the front were the wood-curtain chariots, Muman, gigantic mobile wooden screens designed to block the rain of arrows. Behind them towered the siege towers, Lin Chong, so tall they looked down upon the city walls, allowing Chu crossbowmen to rain death from above, suppressing all resistance. Next came the trench bridge chariots, Aoche. Under covering fire, they deployed folding bridges across the moat. Over these bridges, countless heavy infantry swarmed toward the walls, scaling ladders on their shoulders. At the gates, protected by armored assault vehicles, the battering rams slammed into the splintered, patched-up doors. The gates groaned and finally shattered. With a roar that shook the heavens, the Chu vanguards, wielding double-handed curved swords, surged like a tidal wave into the desperate phalanx of Han spearmen. The city had fallen. In the governor's mansion of Xingyang, Xiang Yu looked down at the bound prisoner, the Han Grand Censor, Zhou Ke. The Overlord spoke. "You fought well. Surrender to me, and I will make you a marquis." Zhou Ke spat back. "You ungrateful regicide traitor! Do you think you are worthy?" Xiang Yu let out a cold laugh. "Boil him." In the plaza outside, a massive bronze cauldron, a ding, was set over a roaring fire. The water inside rolled and bubbled. Zhou Ke was thrown in. He was boiled alive. Yet, amidst his screams, he shouted one final prophecy. "The King of Han will avenge us." "The King of Han?" Xiang Yu glared viciously at the terrified King Xin of Han, who had fainted nearby. "He won't live much longer either. Lock the rest of them up. When I catch Liu Bang, I'll gut them all together." An officer beside Xiang Yu immediately shouted, "The Overlord commands! Regroup immediately! We march east! Target Chengao!" This was a tug-of-war that lasted 2 years. Liu Bang and Xiang Yu fought repeatedly over Xingyang and its surrounding territories. Some key strongholds changed hands 6 times. In the end, viewed in isolation, this campaign ended in a stalemate and a peace treaty. But in the grand scope of history, this was the decisive turning point, the graveyard of Xiang Yu's ambition and the birthplace of the Han Empire. First, let's look at the battlefield. It lies at the geometric center of the Qin-era map. Historically, this was the heart of the Han Kingdom in Warring States period. The Qin Empire later established the Sichuan Commandery here. It contains great cities like Luoyang and vital crossings like Pinyin. But the most critical point was the commandery capital, Xingyang. Open the map and it becomes crystal clear. Leaving the east gate of the Guanzhong Plain, the Hangu Pass, you immediately enter the Luoyang Basin. This is a natural fortress, surrounded by mountains on four sides. But to the east of Luoyang, the land opens up into the Great Plains. Xingyang is the shield. It stands guard just outside the Luoyang Basin. Behind Xingyang lies the roaring Yellow River to the north and the precipitous Qinling Mountains to the south. Between them runs a narrow corridor leading back to Luoyang and the capital region. This corridor is the only east-west passage connecting the Central Plains to Guanzhong and practically the only route suitable for moving massive armies. Now, look at Xingyang itself. It is a fortress wedged between the plains of the east and the lowest plateau of the west. Attacking from the east means fighting uphill. This is why Qin Shi Huang, after annexing this region, ignored the larger cities of Luoyang or Kaifeng. Instead, he chose this obscure town, Xingyang, and transformed it into a military fortress. Archaeological evidence shows that the ancient walls of Xingyang stretched over 7 kilometers. Its rammed earth walls stood 20 meters high, with a base 30 meters thick, far surpassing the famous Ming Dynasty walls of Xi'an seen today. It was an impregnable, high-walled fortress. But Xingyang was not alone. To its east lay a man-made wonder, the Hong Canal, Honggu. This canal connected the Yellow River to the Huai River. It served as a massive natural moat protecting Xingyang from the east, but more importantly, it was a lifeline connecting the waterway logistics of the empire. Controlling this canal meant endless supplies. Where did the supplies come from? The Ao Granary. On Mount Ao, north of Xingyang, Qin Shi Huang built a storage complex of unprecedented scale. Its purpose? To gather the grain of the world and transfer it here. Utilizing the geometric centrality of the Sichuan Commandery, the first emperor created a national strategic reserve. Grain from the North China Plain, the Huai River Basin, and even the Yangtze region could be shipped here via the water network. Furthermore, the Ao Granary wasn't just a warehouse. It was a fortress built into the mountain itself. Combined with the garrison at Xingyang just 10 kilometers away, it was the perfect staging ground for grand armies. There is one final piece to this puzzle, the back door. About 20 kilometers west of Xingyang and the granary lies Chenggao. Here, a tributary of the Yellow River slices through the plateau, creating a natural fault line. On the high ground overlooking this fault sits Chenggao. To its south is Mount Song, to its north, the Yellow River. It chokes the ancient road leading west. If you are familiar with the romance of the Three Kingdoms, you know this place by another name. Hulao Pass, Tiger Trap Pass. This is where legends say Lu Bu fought the three heroes. No matter how many warlords gather, if you want to march west to Luoyang, you must take Chenggao. The Iron Triangle was complete. Xingyang, the frontline fortress and spearhead. Ao Granary, the logistics hub and energy source. Chenggao, the rearguard and defensive anchor. These three mutually supported and protected one another. Crucially, unless an army performed a massive, risky strategic flank, they could not bypass Xingyang to hit the others. This was the keystone Qin Shi Huang laid down in the east. It was the forward operating base for the Qin Empire to project power. If the east rebelled, armies from the capital only needed to reach Xingyang to have a secure launch pad. Conversely, rebels trying to invade the capital had to chew through this hard bone first. This is why, for the Qin Empire, if Xingyang stands, the east is secure. If Xingyang falls, the east is lost. So, in early April of 204 BC, after 560,000 allied troops were instantly crushed by Xiang Yu's 30,000 elite cavalry in a single morning, Liu Bang fled for his life. Driven by his legendary charioteer Xiahou Ying, he didn't stop until he reached Xingyang. Looking at the massive crossbows and trebuchets on the walls pointing east, Liu Bang finally exhaled. Safe at last. But then the Chu army arrived. When Liu Bang scrambled into Xingyang with his shattered remnants, the Chu cavalry, masters of open-field warfare, did not immediately storm the fortress. This gave Liu Bang a breathless moment of respite. Relying on sheer intuition, this commoner-turned king, with no formal military education, decided to make Xingyang his final stand. He would retreat no further. He immediately organized a defense. First, he gathered his forces. His brother-in-law Liu Bang had the only unit that survived the previous massacre intact, about 20,000 men. Liu Bang rallied the routed troops fleeing from the east. Xiao He, the ultimate administrator guarding the capital, worked miracles. He sent a ceaseless stream of fresh recruits from the homeland, even listing minors on the register to fill the ranks. It was a patchwork army, a shield of flesh and blood. But Liu Bang needed a sword. Second, he created the Palace Guard Cavalry, Langzhongqi. Facing Xiang Yu's devastating heavy cavalry, Liu Bang realized that traditional infantry squares and chariots were obsolete. He needed a weapon that could fight thunder with thunder. Historical records reveal a crucial detail. The members of this new unit were almost exclusively old Qin men from the Guangzhong region. They were the remnants of the first emperor's cavalry. If Xiang Yu's cavalry inherited the northern frontier legions, Liu Bang's new unit was built on the foundation of the Qin Imperial Guard. This was a civil war between two branches of the same military school. To lead them, Liu Bang bypassed traditional generals and chose a young ex-silk merchant named Guan Ying, who possessed a beast-like intuition for warfare. It worked. Shortly after, Guan Ying led this new cavalry to defeat a Chu detachment southeast of the city, a vital morale boost. For the next 6 months, Xiang Yu did not launch a full-scale assault, merely probing the defenses. Liu Bang used this window to turn the geography into a weapon. He transformed the Xingyang, Ao Granary, Chengao Triangle into a super-fortress complex. Xingyang held the front. Ao Granary was reinforced, guarded by General Zhou Bo and General Fan Kuai. Chengao in the rear was heavily garrisoned. Most importantly, to secure the grain supply, Liu Bang built a massive earth and wood structure running from the granary to the city. The Yongdao, the walled supply corridor. This was a replica of the tactics used by the Qin Great Wall legions. It was proof that the army Liu Bang led was no longer a ragtag rebel force. It was the second coming of the Qin military machine. But the question remains, why did Xiang Yu give Liu Bang 6 months to recover? In reality, after the initial rout, the war had shifted to diplomacy and smaller skirmishes. The 560,000-man coalition had collapsed. The smaller kingdoms, seeing Xiang Yu's invincibility, switched sides or declared independence. Wei Bao, the king of Wei, famously feigned a family illness to go home, then immediately rebelled. He told Liu Bang's diplomat, "You expect me to serve that man? He insults kings like they are slaves. I'm done." There is a legendary detail here. A fortune teller told Wei Bao that his wife, Lady Bo, had the face of an empress dowager, and her son would be emperor. Wei Bao thought, if my son is emperor, I must be the founding emperor. So he rebelled. Ironically, Lady Bo's son did become emperor, a famous emperor, but the father wasn't Wei Bao. Because Wei occupied the strategic high ground across the river, threatening the entire defensive line, Liu Bang unleashed his secret weapon, Han Xin. Han Xin took the new palace cavalry, crossed the Yellow River, and annihilated the kingdom of Wei in a single month. He then swept up the kingdom of Dai, carving out a safe zone north of the river. Meanwhile, Xiang Yu was busy suppressing rebellions in Qi and dealing with a betrayal by his former champion, Ying Bu, king of Zhujiang. Xiang Yu crushed Ying Bu in a month. Finally, with his rear secure, Xiang Yu brought the full might of the Chu main force to Xingyang. Facing him was the daunting Iron Triangle, high walls, endless camps, and complex fortifications. But standing high atop a siege tower, Xiang Yu looked past the walls. His gaze locked onto the walled supply corridor running along the canal. A smile curled on the Overlord's lips. I solved this puzzle years ago. History repeats itself. Xiang Yu did not attack the main camps. Instead, just like at the Battle of Julu years before, he unleashed his cavalry on the supply lines. Using high-mobility multi-point strikes, the Chu cavalry overwhelmed the defenses of the walled corridor. The connection between the granary and the city was severed. The supply line paralysis sent the Han army into chaos. Chu forces began picking off the outer camps one by one. The Han army, terrified of Xiang Yu's field prowess, dared not sortie him out. They watched helplessly as their perimeter collapsed. By the spring of 204 BC, Xingyang was an island in a sea of enemies. No food inside, no reinforcements outside. Desperate, Liu Bang did the unthinkable. He sued for peace. He offered to divide the world, keeping only the West. Xiang Yu, sensing total victory, refused. He ordered the construction of siege engines. He wanted Liu Bang's head. Under crushing pressure, Liu Bang executed a stratagem that defied imagination. On a pitch-black night, the east gate of Xingyang creaked open. 2,000 armored soldiers escorted a magnificent royal chariot. It bore the yellow canopy and the flags of the King of Han. Soldiers on the wall shouted, "The King of Han surrenders! The King of Han surrenders!" The besieging Chu troops erupted in cheers. Thousands rushed to the east gate to witness the surrender of their arch-enemy. No one noticed that, in the chaos, the west gate quietly opened. The legendary driver Jiahu Ying, steering a light chariot with the real Liu Bang and a dozen riders, vanished into the darkness, racing west. Xiang Yu rushed to the east gate. But when he saw the man in the royal chariot, his fury exploded. It wasn't Liu Bang, it was Jixin, a Han general. And the 2,000 armored soldiers. They were women, civilians dressed in armor, sent out as sacrificial lambs to confuse the enemy. Liu Bang had deceived the Overlord. Xiang Yu, shaking with rage, demanded Liu Bang's location. Jixin smiled. The king has long since left. Xiang Yu offered Jixin a chance to turn coat. Jixin cursed him instead. Xiang Yu's voice went cold. "Burn him." As Jixin screamed in the flames, Xiang Yu didn't wait. Leaving a detachment to starve out the now worthless city, he took his main force and marched west. He would chase Liu Bang to the ends of the earth. But Liu Bang was faster than he imagined. He didn't even stop at Chengao, he ran all the way back to the capital. When Xiang Yu captured Chengao, Liu Bang had already mobilized the reserves in the capital and wanted to march east again to save Xingyang. His advisors stopped him. "To march east like this, isn't that just striking a rock with an egg? Can you actually defeat Xiang Yu?" Liu Bang demanded. "So we just abandon the Xingyang defense line that we spent so much blood and sweat building. The Chu army has already taken Chengao. Their next step could be to continue marching west. Are we not going to stand in their way?" The strategist replied, "If Chengao falls, we have Gongxian. If Gongxian falls, we have Luoyang. And even if Luoyang falls, we still have the Hangu Pass. For every single step the Chu army takes west, they will have to pay a massive price. Instead of marching east for a suicidal head-on collision, we should flank to the south. We need to grab their attention. If we can pull Xiang Yu's main force away, it will relieve the pressure on Xingyang." Liu Bang asked, "Will Xiang Yu really be that obedient?" "Why wouldn't he?" The strategist smiled. "My king, do you have any idea how much Xiang Yu hates you right now?" So Liu Bang marched south. And true to his romantic temperament, Xiang Yu could not tolerate the street ruffian Liu Bang dancing under his nose. He abandoned the broken city of Xingyang. He abandoned the strategic advantage of Chengao. He turned his army south toward Wancheng. Liu Bang and his ally Yingbu holed up in the city. Xiang Yu surrounded them, preparing for another siege. Just as Liu Bang was considering another strategic transfer, something strange happened. Xiang Yu retreated. Xiang Yu's retreat took Liu Bang by surprise, yet it fell exactly within his calculations. Before the disaster at Pengcheng, a bandit leader named Peng Yue had joined Liu Bang with 30,000 men. Liu Bang gave him the empty title of Prime Minister of Wei and a simple mission: go back to the wetlands of the east and wreak havoc on Xiang Yu's homeland. After the defeat, Peng Yue returned to the marshes he knew best and resumed his old trade, guerrilla warfare. While Liu Bang was fleeing west, he followed Zhang Liang's advice and sent convoys of gold and supplies to this bandit king. The order was singular: use endless guerrilla attacks to rot the Chu rear and sever Xiang Yu's supply lines. Peng Yue delivered. While Liu Bang was teetering on the brink at Wancheng, Peng Yue won victory after victory, even defeating several top Chu generals sent to hunt him down. With his backyard on fire, Xiang Yu had no choice. He took his elite cavalry to crush Peng Yue personally, leaving the bulk of his infantry and generals to hold Chengao and continue the siege of Xingyang. However, Xiang Yu made a fatal miscalculation. He forgot that his sworn brother, Liu Bang, was not someone his subordinates could suppress. The moment Xiang Yu left, Liu Bang broke the encirclement at Wancheng, marched north, and with the help of the fierce general Yingbu, stormed Chengao in a single breath, beheading the Chu commander. Reinforced by troops from the capital, Liu Bang prepared to march east to lift the siege of Xingyang. But Liu Bang also made a fatal miscalculation. He forgot that his sworn brother, Xiang Yu, was not someone anyone else could suppress. 1 month. It took only 1 month. Xiang Yu and his cavalry swept through the east like a hurricane, crushed Peng Yue, drove him back into the swamps, and then, like a phantom, returned to Xingyang. Before Liu Bang could launch his offensive from Chengao, Xiang Yu was back. The Han army froze in terror. What followed is the scene from the beginning of this video. Xiang Yu decided to end the game. In just a few days, Xingyang, the steel fortress, the foundry of will that Liu Bang had pinned his hopes on, crumbled under Xiang Yu's maniacal assault. Grand Censor Zhou Ke and the entire command staff were captured. Facing the Overlord, Zhou Ke chose the most gruesome end, boiled alive in a cauldron. His final scream marked the moment this war turned into a true meat grinder. The shockwave of Xingyang's fall hadn't even settled when Chu forces swept up the Ao granary. The Han generals Zhou Bo and Fan Kuai fled to Chengao. Xiang Yu's spear tip immediately turned toward Chengao. He expected a final showdown, but Xiang Yu was disappointed again. Liu Bang had run away. Again. History records that upon hearing of Xiang Yu's approach, the legendary driver Xia Huying once again took the reins, smuggling Liu Bang out of the North Gate. Since the Supreme Commander had fled before the encirclement was complete, the remaining generals had no obligation to die for a lost cause. After a brief skirmish, the Han army routed. Xiang Yu captured Chengao for the second time. He tried to push further west, but at the second defense line, Gongxian, he hit a wall. History deleted the name of the commander who stopped the Overlord here, likely due to his later treason. But logically, only one man had the capability to organize the remnants of the southern armies into a defensive line: Yingbu. Yet even Yingbu could not have held back Xiang Yu forever. The savior, once again, was Peng Yue. The moment Xiang Yu left the east, Peng Yue crawled out of the swamps. This time, he conquered over a dozen Chu cities. Xiang Yu, furious and exhausted, had to turn back. Before leaving, he entrusted Xingyang to his general Zhongli Mei and Chengao and the Ao Granary to the Grand Marshal of Chu, Chao Ju. He left them with a desperate warning: hold Chengao, do not fight. If the King of Han comes, do not engage him. Give me 15 days, just 15 days. I will settle the east and return. While Chu and Han bled each other dry at Xingyang and Chengao, the position of the Han Grand General, Han Xin, was somewhat awkward. He had conquered the kingdoms of Wei, Dai, and Zhao in a blitzkrieg. Yet for 6 months, he sat north of the Yellow River, resting his troops, neither attacking nor sending aid to the desperate siege at Xingyang. Perhaps he was waiting? Liu Bang did not give him the luxury of waiting. After fleeing Chengao, Liu Bang and Xia Huying crossed the Yellow River and rode like the wind to Han Xin's camp. In that window of time, no one on earth knew where the King of Han was. In the pre-dawn mist, disguised as messengers, they bluffed their way into the camp and walked straight into Han Xin's tent. The genius general was still asleep. Liu Bang did not wake him. Like a master thief, he walked to the bedside table and took the tiger tally, Hufu, the bronze token that granted supreme command over the army. When Han Xin woke up, he was terrified to find the king sitting in his tent, the tally in his hand. Liu Bang immediately issued orders. He stripped Han Xin of his entire army, leaving him only a few thousand men and a vague authority to conscript more soldiers locally. He gave Han Xin a blank check. Fight well. Conquer the kingdom of Qi, and I will make you the king of Qi." Before Han Xin could complain, Liu Bang took the army and marched south. This was a fresh, elite force, rested and trained for months. With these chips in hand, Liu Bang had only one goal: retake Chengao. At first, the Chu Grand Marshal, Cao Ju, followed Xiang Yu's orders: stay behind the walls. But Liu Bang understood the weakness of human nature, especially the fragile pride of Chu aristocrats. He built a massive platform outside the walls. He selected soldiers with the loudest voices to stand there, day and night, hurling insults at Cao Ju and his ancestors. For 5 days, they attacked his character, his family, and his manhood. The toxic verbal assault finally shattered the old general's psychological defenses. Rage overruled reason. Cao Ju disobeyed the order. He opened the gates and marched out. As the Chu army began to cross the Sea River to reach the Han camp, Liu Bang watched from the opposite bank with a cold smile. He executed the classic Sun Tzu maneuver: strike when the enemy is half-crossed. When half the Chu army was struggling in the water and the other half was disorganized on the bank, Liu Bang dropped the flag. The cavalry he had stolen from Han Xin poured down like a landslide. The clear river turned dark red in an instant. Realizing he had lost not just the battle, but the trust of his king, Cao Ju slit his throat by the riverbank. The Chu defense in the west collapsed. Chengao changed hands again. This time, Liu Bang didn't stop. He linked up with Yingbu and pushed east to retake Xingyang. But defending Xingyang was Zhongli Mei. If Cao Ju was fire, Zhongli Mei was stone. Facing the Han onslaught, he showed supreme professionalism, sealing the gates and using the ruined fortifications to hold the line. Liu Bang knew he had to win before Xiang Yu returned. Zhongli Mei knew he just had to survive until the black flag appeared on the horizon. A new stalemate began. When Xiang Yu returned to the Western Front, covered in the blood of yet another victory against Peng Yu, he realized he was trapped in a strategic nightmare. The Overlord was still invincible on the battlefield, but on the map, he was a giant running on a treadmill. Every time he crushed Peng Yue, Liu Bang took Chengao. Every time he took Xingyang, the Han defense line just moved a few miles west. This time, Liu Bang was smarter. Hearing of Xiang Yu's return, he abandoned the siege of Xingyang and retreated to Mount Guangwu. Utilizing the massive ravine cut by the Hong Canal, the two armies dug in. The Han in the west, the Chu in the east, separated by a 200-meter-wide gorge. Neither could advance. This is the origin of the Chinese chess term, the Chu River and Han border. As the war froze, Xiang Yu grew desperate. To force Liu Bang out, he set up a giant cauldron in front of the formation, bound Liu Bang's captured father to a chopping block, and shouted, "Surrender, or I will boil your father into soup." Liu Bang stood on the opposite cliff, his expression unchanged. He shouted back, "Xiang Yu, we swore an oath as brothers before King Huai of Chu. My father is your father. If you insist on boiling our father, be sure to send me a bowl of the broth." The words were cold iron. In Liu Bang's logic, every emotion could be quantified as a political cost. He wasn't just immoral, he was a political machine stripped of emotional interference. This rogue logic devastated Xiang Yu. As a noble hero, he couldn't understand. Why did my general kill himself over insults, yet this man won't blink at the death of his father? The standoff continued. To break the boredom, they engaged in the most ancient form of warfare, the duel. The Han army had a genius archer from the Lufan tribe. From the cliff, he sniped 3 Chu challengers in a row. The Chu army was pinned down. Enraged, Xiang Yu rode out personally. As the Lufan archer drew his bow, Xiang Yu let out a roar, a thunderous shout, his eyes burning with a terrifying supernatural intensity. It was pure psychic domination. The battle-hardened archer was so terrified by the Overlord's aura that his hands shook, his bow slipped, and he fled back into the camp, daring not to fire a single arrow. This was Xiang Yu, a god in microscopic combat, but a dying mortal in the macroscopic war. Finally, the two kings spoke across the ravine. Xiang Yu proposed, The world has suffered enough because of us. Let us fight in single combat. Only one of us needs to die." A classic Greek hero's request. Liu Bang laughed. He responded by listing Xiang Yu's 10 crimes: betrayal, massacre, regicide. Liu Bang wasn't arguing. He was framing the narrative. He was justice. Xiang Yu was a monster. Xiang Yu snapped. He raised a heavy crossbow and fired a hidden shot across the gorge. The bolt struck Liu Bang squarely in the chest. Pain tore through him. If he fell now, the Han army would collapse. But Liu Bang, in a moment of supreme acting, grabbed his foot instead. He shouted, "The scoundrel! He shot me in the toe!" The bolt had wounded Liu Bang severely, but he didn't die in the camp. He retreated to Chengao, and once stable even returned to the capital to recover and recruit. Xiang Yu, meanwhile, sat trapped in his camp. To his west, the impregnable Han fortress. To his east, Peng Yue had risen from the ashes again, cutting his supply lines. To his north, Han Xin had conquered Qi, completing the strategic encirclement. Xiang Yu finally accepted reality. He could not beat Liu Bang. In 203 BC, the Overlord sued for peace. The standoff ended, but the war had been decided long before. Looking back at the 2-year meat grinder of Xingyang, Liu Bang's victory wasn't luck. It was built on 3 systemic advantages. 1. The Xingyang Iron Triangle, the fortress complex of Xingyang, Chengao, and the Ao Granary was a steel nail driven into the heart of the plains. The granary acted as an infinite energy source. As long as this triangle held, Xiang Yu could never threaten the Han heartland. 2. Geographic determinism. Liu Bang held Guangzhong and the Sichuan Basin. These were the super granaries and fortresses of ancient China. No matter how many times Liu Bang lost in the east, he could retreat behind the Hangu Pass and respawn. Xiang Yu, fighting in the open plains, had no strategic depth. 3. The ultimate weapon, the mobilization of the unified state. This was Liu Bang's true dimensional strike. Liu Bang inherited the commandery system, Junxian system, established by the first emperor. While the world called it tyranny, in war, it was the ultimate engine. It turned every inch of land and every peasant into a cog in the war machine. Here lies the supreme irony of history. Liu Bang and Xiang Yu overthrew the Qin Empire together. Yet, in the end, Liu Bang used Qin Shi Huang's legacy to defeat Xiang Yu. Xiang Yu represented the old world, the sunset of aristocratic honor, feudalism, and individual heroism. Liu Bang unintentionally became the avatar of the new world, bureaucracy, centralized mobilization, and the prototype of total war. The Battle of Xingyang wasn't just a duel between 2 men, it was a collision between 2 eras. And when the Han Empire rose from the ashes, historians gave it the only verdict that mattered. Han inherited the Qin institutions,